Well, good morning if anybody is watching. I'm back. Sorry I've been gone so long. I needed to take a break. So welcome to the bit where I make sure that everything is working and that I haven't left my microphone on mute. Shouldn't have done, according to what I'm seeing on the screen. I'm just going to wait until 9 o'clock on the dot, just in case anybody joins. And because it's Sunday, I'm going to be running Nimue in Sky, Children of the Light. It's been a couple of weeks, I think, since I ran her, so don't remember what exactly she's been doing. I know she hasn't done any of the Season of Radiance, so that will be interesting. And I can't remember if she's paid any attention to the seasonal spirits. So there should be a cutscene for a moment or two here. Yep. Because she hasn't done the Season of Radiance, therefore it's got to do the cutscenes, so if nothing else, if you haven't seen the cutscene for the Season of Radiance, now you get to see it. I need to pay a lot more attention to this microphone hanging in front of my face. I'm pretty certain I've had a couple of occasions where I had it muted and started a live stream. That live stream doesn't exist any longer because I think for about the first 10 or 15 minutes I was talking away and it's absolute silence from me. And I've had occasions where I had to mute it so I could cough or something, and I forgot to unmute it afterwards, I think. Probably better than hearing me cough in your face, though. So, little Miss Stabby here is going to have her first experience with the Season of Radiance. I don't think there's anything particularly in the inbox she needs to worry about. No. I'll just do the inevitable and grab the quick and easy lights. Well, I suppose I should go and have a look at the Season of Radiance, seeing as that is what I'm here for. Oh, you're tall. That makes it difficult. Alright, let's get the opening bits over with. If you can't hear me, or you can't hear me very well, please let me know and I'll try and do something about it. Typically if you can't hear me, it's probably because I've forgotten to enable the microphone, but I'm looking at OBS and it's saying I've got microphone feed, so I will say one thing about the Season of Radiance. I believe the intention is to keep the dying feature in the game, And I hope so, because it is one of the most significant changes they've made to the game, I think, since I started playing nearly a year ago. The idea that you can customize your outfits, at least somewhat, is a very good one. I'm not sure they've gone quite far enough in applying the feature. For example, Nimue here is, due to circumstance and personal policy, pretty much playing in a default outfit from one of the constellations. And you can't dye that. Of course, in-game, she doesn't know that yet. Which might cause her some irritation. Oh, I should say, I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to be streaming this. Typically, I stream for about 2 hours. But that may change, because I just found out earlier today that my earbuds hadn't been recharging. There seems to be something wrong with the recharging cable. Fortunately, because I'm a geek, I have spare cables hanging around, and I found a cable that did appear to help it recharge. So I will go probably for a couple of hours until I get really, really bored, or until the earbuds start complaining that they need to be recharged. But they've been charging for a couple of hours, so hopefully that's good enough. I don't know how much coloured light you can actually pick up in a day. I haven't actually exactly got a hang on all the dynamics of it. This is the bit at which I would probably find out I don't have the... Oh, I do have it. I hadn't thought about that. I think even her collection of regular spirits is somewhat deficient. Now I know where most of those are. I have no idea, incidentally. I'm going to assume... How many of these episodes have we got? 1, 2... You know, there's a chance they might have dyes in each of the realms. That would make sense. That would actually be kind of interesting. Of course, the problem is if you want to collect dyes, it does take time from doing other things. Where are we going? Oh, yes. Oh, that's awkward. Why couldn't she have exited facing the other way? I hope everybody's been doing well in my absence. Yeah, I'll probably repeat this, but I'm sorry about that. I burned out. I needed to take a break. Give me a hug. Thank you. So, what have I been doing the last couple of weeks? Well, actually, I read a lot more than I usually do. I wanted to revisit Richard Kadri's Sandman Slim series, which is what, 12 books, so I made my way through those, and then I wanted to reread Game of Thrones, the first 5 books, so I've gone through about 4.5 of those as well. And I've sat down, tried to think of subjects I can talk about. Watched a lot of documentaries on YouTube. And when I couldn't sleep, doom scrolled through Facebook, which is can be quite frustrating. I might talk about that sometime. Some of the things that frustrate me about stuff you find in Facebook. Most of the stuff actually is on Twitter, which I don't go to, or YouTube. So I do happen to know where I think most of the dye plants are. Ooh, that's an interesting... is that a graphical glitch? But yes, any rants I've got built up, I'll probably wait for people to join. Otherwise I'll just be talking to myself, which I'm doing anyway, I suppose. Yeah, there are a few... Actually, I've got a bunch of topics that I don't think I'd previously considered talking about. Cooking reaction videos is one. Those things can be irritating. I realise I probably never shared my thoughts on literature. And don't worry, I'm not talking about highfalutin literature. Because I happen to think there's more to literature than, say, you know, Lord of the Rings or 1984 or something like that. Now, I happen to know that if you're seeing yellow like that, oh, it should have prompted me to go to return the light. Why did it not do that? Huh, what's that? Oh, okay, deliver this colour. Right, so I'll go and do that now so we get that out of the way with. Yes, but I definitely have thoughts on literature. But definitely not in any way that you might have been taught in English. Literature is one of those kind of snobby subjects, you know, where people assume, you know, they mean sort of recognized authors like, oh, I don't know, Shakespeare or Tolkien or... Well, there are other forms of literature which in my opinion are just as valid and have lessons that can be learned from them. There's a couple of examples, just to whet your appetite. Two authors that I think are hugely underrated. and yet, you know, literature snobs would probably turn their nose up. One of those is George C. Gilman, who wrote a series of westerns back in the 70s and 80s, I think, advertised as being the most violent westerns available. Well, that may or may not be true, but I'll tell you one thing he could do. He could encapsulate a complete story in a very short space in a way that you don't see so much anymore. But he would be looked down upon by literature purists. Another one would be Guy N. Smith, famous for how many horror books did he write? A plethora. He had much the same capability. How to cram a story into a remarkably smaller amount of place, you know. So, this is going to be Nimue's first irritation, I guarantee it. Because she is about to find out that she can't dye her outfit. But, and the only thing she can change, I mean, yes, she can change, what should she change here? Nope. No, she can change that. That's okay. But she can't change the outfit she's wearing, which is ridiculous. Now, she can change the inner lining, which is actually kind of a nice feature. I do like that one. But she can't dye her hair. And I don't have the angry stomp icon, do I? That should be her response. Where's her angry stomp icon? She got that. No. She doesn't. At least not that I can see. That's the closest. No, that does not express her opinion on this, I can guarantee it. And I don't think she has access to any particular outfits easily. Because while she technically does have wings, I'm not getting her wing buffs. I've elected not to play her in that fashion. You can, of course, tell which outfits can be dyed. They're the ones with the little dye markers next to them. And none of the defaults have that. Oh, you can dye the boots. Huh, I didn't realise that. Same goes for cloaks, in case anyone's wondering. The cloaks with the dye markers can be dyed. Ooh, that's actually kind of nice. I like that. Some of them can't be dyed. There are cloaks which can't be dyed. They were, for example, the Journey Pack. You can't dye that one, which makes a sort of sense, although I still want to be able to get the white version of that cloak, because that's available in the game through gameplay. Anyway, let's try and I won't say unlock the secrets of where the dyes are. Let's have a look and see. At some point I've got to figure out how this is going to affect candle runs, because it's going to have an effect on those. But I'll probably stream something like that with One of my other avatars. Baron, probably. What other subjects did I think of that I might be able to talk about? Ooh, movies I'd like to see. I know everything's superhero and everything else at the moment, and it's always irritated me that there are a plethora of books, stories out there which would make fantastic movies, in my limited opinion, and that nobody touches. I mean, you could plumb the depths of pretty much any... If you want action movies, there are plenty of war stories around from going back centuries that would make for fascinating watching. Some fairly unbelievable stuff too. Yeah, I'm going to go to the Prairie Peaks because I know there's stuff in there. That is one thing I like about this, actually. They've put dyes in Prairie Peaks. Prairie Peaks is, I think, an underused location. It's very nice. Should use it more. So I suppose, yeah, I suppose. Hello. Something went plink at me. It's always interesting when something goes plink at you and you can't figure out what it was. Oh well. Hopefully, if it's important, I'll get some kind of notification somewhere. But no, what happened? Yeah, I know, basically a couple of weeks ago I burned out. So I thought I'd take a break, and it lasted longer than I expected. Sorry about that. Little bit of a mental recharge there. This is one of the slightly irritating things about this, using the honk. While I understand it, you're going to get people honking left, right and centre, and honking left, right and centre can be pretty irritating when everyone else is doing it, so I'm sure I will adjust. I could have sworn there was a patch over here, but if there isn't, there should be one over there somewhere. As much as I can do wing runs with my eyes shut, mostly, not literally, I haven't done die runs enough. I mean, it's literally only been... I didn't just burn out from streaming, I burned out from playing video games as well. So, I haven't actually been spending as much time as I say I should, as I would normally. Learning where everything is. If anyone's interested in mixing dyes, there's I think there's some fairly good guides online. And we've only got what we've got at the moment. Could have sworn there was a patch over here. Oh, no. Yeah, I've seen a couple of remarks about die refresh. I do know that in the past it's been necessary to revisit different locations at different times to be able to catch up. And I don't know for sure how many die packs, I'll call them die packs, you can collect in a day. But I'm pretty certain I've missed some. That is a little bit of a pain. There is supposed to be a source of dye around here. I'm not seeing it. So I believe there's a schedule for it. Of course, one thing you look out for is the prevalence of coloured butterflies. If you see coloured butterflies, there's probably someone's burnt away some dark plants for you. But there should be a patch here. I'm not seeing it, and I'll have to come back. And therein lies a potential issue. If you're doing a candle run, you've got limited time. How are you going to do everything? I'll experiment with that. And see if I can come up with some ideas. And in case anybody's wondering, Nimue here, aka Little Miss Stabby, was my subject for Journey of the Wingless, and it ended when she deliberately picked up a wing, and then I tried to see whether there was a way to return to wingless status, and the simple answer is there isn't. And the complex answer is there really, really isn't. Not to return to genuine wingless status. So I decided that I was going to run her without picking up wings, basically. And see how that compared. And if you're new to me live streaming, my general practice is to pretty much take a break about every hour. Oh, come on. I must have picked that up already. Yeah, you can already see a couple of patches. I could have sworn there was... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, must have picked it up. I hope they haven't implemented the same system they had with candles, where the more candles you get on a daily basis, the slower it takes to get them. I would not find that pleasing. Of course, because we have Days of Radiance, that means there was an update. I think I've seen some commentary that people are having the usual problems that result from an update. Server connection issues, various bugs. All I can say is so far I have not experienced them. Not in the last couple of days at any rate. Which is as long as I've been playing Days of Radiance. So I think that's the first entire candle that she's picked up so far. It's potentially useful that they have, in fact, if you get to the dark plants, there is some light available from them, but I don't think it's going to be a good substitute for a good thorough candle run. So what other useful thoughts did I have during my break? I was very interested to see about the AMD 9070 coming out in, when is it? March, apparently. I'd be very interested to see how that is. It's obviously not a massively high-end card. It's not intended to compete, obviously, with the 5090 series. But based on the specifications I'm seeing, it might, if the price and performance are right, be a good swap out for a budget-minded consumer, perhaps. I've seen rumours of pricings for the for it to being around £500, which is an interesting market bracket to be in. But from what I'm seeing, hello Vampire Lynx, how are you? Well, I'm back on streaming. I seem to have mostly overcome my burnout. I did post something in the community post about that. So basically I took a couple of weeks off from gaming even. I didn't switch on this computer for nearly 2 weeks. I needed a break. Sorry about that. But nice to see you again. I was just rambling incoherently about AMD's latest graphics card, which I'm kind of curious to see how it performs. What it strikes me looking at the specs is that it might have better performance than, say, I'm hoping better than a 7800 with similar power usage but more efficient. I'm hoping that's what I'm seeing looking at the specs. But as you can see, Nimue here is taking her first foray into the season of Radiance. My goodness, that's loud. Excuse me a second. I mean, it's loud for me. But how are you doing? I hope 2025 is treating you well so far. Yeah, what was funny, I say funny, at the same time that I kind of had to take a break, a couple of friends of mine, completely coincidentally, ended up taking a break for various reasons around about the same time. So we're in the process of slowly catching up with each other in Sky. I think I did my first actual... Oh, what type of cookies did you make? So, yeah, in some respects, I'm still in the process of catching up with a couple of my friends. Because they were obliged to take a break around the same time I did. Complete coincidence. I have absolutely no idea what peppermint bark is. Oh, chocolate and mint, obviously a good combination. That sounds good. There's a couple of things I want to try with cooking this year. Unfortunately, I've been inspired by some YouTube cooks. Oh, right. I want to try making my own pasta some point this year. Or should I pronounce it pasta? I'm not sure. I labour from this delusion that maybe if I make my own pasta it'll be cheaper than buying it, but I have a horrible suspicion it won't be. But it's still a useful thing to be able to do if I ever want to indulge myself. Why didn't they stick die packs here? I mean, that would have made sense. Oh, That's a first. I've never seen that before. What time? Well, if it's on a schedule, that would be funny. Well, at least in principle, it should be fairly straightforward. I'm sure it's within my meager capabilities if I don't rush it. It's actually one of the things that irritates me about certain online chefs. You know how they will say, "Oh, it's easy," and this and that, and what they kind of omit to tell you is you really do need to practice it, and the practicing thereof might cost you a bit of money. Now, I'm sure to some people that's not really a huge problem, but if you're on a budget, well, yeah, you know, how much is practice? How much is it going to cost to practice in the hope that you get it right eventually, and then is it worth it after that? Oh, come on. But anyway, it's something I'd like to try. Because I do eat quite a bit of pasta. It's one way of getting calories in me. Where's mine? Thank you. Let's see. Okay. So I got 3 from completing them, so I've gotten 2 red, 1 yellow. Oh. I do like to cook, I have to admit, but in the end, a lot of it comes down to what is quick, moderately tasty, and relatively easy, and what do I have in the fridge. I mean, I'll be honest, I can pretty much tell you what I got in my fridge, but it's one of the things that irritates me about social media chefs. This sort of assumption that you've got access to the same ingredients they do, and no, you don't. One of the big ones that irritates me is extra virgin olive oil. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure if I've ever had really good extra virgin olive oil, but I do know that even the fake stuff you get in our local supermarkets ain't cheap. I'm not sure if I could actually easily get locally decent extra virgin olive oil, and some people I do know don't like the taste of it. Some people don't like the taste of it if it's used for cooking. I don't know if I've ever had the proper stuff. I'm sure I must have done at some point, but... And I know I've, before I discovered that most of the extra virgin olive oil I can find is probably fake. I'm not sure I really like cooking with it, and the flavour doesn't really suit me. But yeah, no, half the time when you watch some chef saying, here's some quick, easy and cheap recipe and they say, you know, extra virgin olive oil, part of my brain is going, well, you just cancelled the cheap right there. Ah, yes. I have a system for doing the dishes. I clean them up before I do the cooking. But seeing as I do that every day, it's not exactly a huge problem. Am I gonna make it? Am I gonna make it? Yes. Ah, the skills of a one-wing flap. But I suppose that's one of the rants I do want to kind of go on. I'm not necessarily going to name specific chefs. I may do that some other point. But you know, there are ways you are supposed to make certain types of food. You know, what is it? Spaghetti carbonara, and you know, you're supposed to use guanciale, right? What's that? Pork cheek. I have no idea if I've ever seen guanciale for sale in a supermarket, in any supermarket. Yes. I don't think I've ever seen guanciale in a supermarket around here. So what am I supposed to do? This one particular Italian cook living in Australia, he's actually said if you can't find guanciale or proper Parmigiano Reggiano or whatever it is he likes, move. It's like, I can't afford to do that just for a couple of stinking ingredients. I mean, to be honest with you, the arrogance of the statement rather disturbed me. And he said it more than once. I mean, yeah, sometimes he's laughed and said, but no, he's actually said it seriously, or at least moderately seriously. You can find guanciale everywhere. No, you can't. Welcome to Northern England. I mean, I could probably go online and find it, at which point it's definitely not going to be cheap. Now, the closest, I will confess, the closest I have found in my local Tesco is, smoked Polish bacon, I think it is, and it's sold in this big chunk. That's probably a halfway decent substitute, but you kind of have to know it's there, where to look for it, and it isn't necessarily proper guanciale. So essentially what I'm using is bacon. And of course, this particular chef sneers at the idea of using bacon or pancetta. So, you know, it's like I have to I have to use what I can find, and I don't necessarily like it when someone's making fun of the fact that I can't just move to find some ingredient that I'm not necessarily. I mean, if I were to try and shop it online, if I were to source the proper ingredients for some of this stuff, the shipping costs would be expensive, and by the time I've gotten the recommended ingredients for you know, a few meals, that's a week's food. And to be honest with you, I am not spending that kind of money on a week's food, especially for something which you pretty much have to use because it'll go off. And I don't waste food very much. Now, if he was saying, okay, if you can't find guanciale, I mean, he has said something like that. But nonetheless, I've always found that the times he's made remarks about if you can't, you can find proper ingredients everywhere. No, you can't. No, sorry, mate. Why don't you come to the north of England, Mr. Italian chef, go into our local Tesco and see what you can do with what the rest of us can get. Now, if he was saying, you know, giving alternatives, say, you know, I might be more forgiving, but this arrogant, entitled, this is how you must do it or it isn't proper, is profoundly irritating. There's another one, another chef, that French chef, of course, because arguably some of the best, I say some of the best chefs are French. Actually, some of them are Austrian. But, and I remember him doing some dish, I forget what it was. And he, to my great delight, was talking about using chicken stock. Now, if you've got a regular schedule, making chicken stock is not a problem. But suppose you don't have it, or you don't have a freezer big enough, or something like that. And what did he say? He says, look, if you don't have chicken stock, don't worry about it. Just use water. But don't tell anybody I told you that. I loved that about him. That was a nice, down-to-earth, practical, usable suggestion. Yeah, but I am going off cooking elitism. There's another guy does something similar. Oh no, this same fella. And one day I'm actually going to have a bigger go at him, probably. But I remember this same guy was doing a reaction video to a... what was it? A Filipino dish. So the Filipinos apparently like their spaghetti. Oh, good for them. Nope. They're making a Filipino dish, and this guy is exhibiting his cultural elitism in full flood by saying they weren't making the pasta properly. Excuse me, this isn't an Italian dish, mate. It's a Filipino dish. Let them make it the way they like it. It's their country. It's their dish. And the Italians do not have a monopoly on pasta. So this is where, oh no, I know, I just remembered. I'm moderately certain there are some dye patches around here that I haven't been able to get because I've come at the wrong time. Oh, I need to pick that up at some point. Yeah, the other thing that gets me is when somebody says such and such is... I don't know what it is about... There's this sudden, I say sudden thing about proper Italian food. Stop me if I've talked about this before. Don't get me wrong. I love Italian food. Italian food is great. So is German food, so is French food. You know, they're all good. Austrian food, fantastic, it can be. Even English food can be fantastic. And that's another thing I ought to have a go at some point. But, so he's going on about, they go on about things like this is the proper Italian way to do things. Alright, firstly, you've got to bear in mind, Italian food, the way it is now, is probably not the same as it was 150 years ago. Absolutely guarantee it, as a matter of fact. Secondly, the modern Italian food with its heavy emphasis on things like tomatoes. Yeah, when did tomatoes get to Italy? It wasn't that long ago, as a matter of fact, that it became prevalent in Italian cooking. I want to say 18th century, late 18th century. So, you know, again, what's your definition of proper Italian food? Is there a time limit on it? Is it pre-World War II, World War One, Napoleonic era? I don't know. Don't imagine they do either. It just seems to be this arbitrary thing. If it's called such and such, this is how it must be done. Oh, please, give me a break. I guarantee 200 years ago, people were not necessarily looking for guanciale in, rural Italy to make their spaghetti carbonara. And I'll be honest, I haven't done... if I wanted to properly pick that apart, I'd have to go into a full historical research mode into foods of the Italian peninsula, and I'm really not inclined to do that. Okay, have I got everything here? So here's the thing, right? So I've done a bit of a die pack run. And the thing is, I'm pretty certain I haven't got everything because it wasn't available when I went through. So what am I supposed to do now if there's something I want to die? Hence, by the way, that... Is there a die pack over there? I did not know this. And another one over there. Huh. So yeah, hence the name of this stream. Dying is such sweet sorrow. There is a die pack over here. I had no idea. Well, again, I haven't... it hasn't become second nature yet. Oh, apologies for the beard, by the way. I didn't get the opportunity to go to my preferred barber. And I don't know whether everybody knows this, but men can be funny about their barbers. We tend to like a specific one. And if we can't find it, we'd rather go shaggy. But yeah, excuse me a second. Yeah, I'll try and flesh out this rant at some future time. I wasn't actually intending talking about food elitism at this point. Alright, let's go back home. And see if I revisit some of the same areas I've been across, if anything else is available. Or... oh no, okay, we're coming up for the hour. Yeah. Actually, that's relatively good timing. Because if there is a refresh, this might be one way to find it out. Ah. I don't remember my elbows being quite so bony. So, have I actually... well, let's go and have a visit to... I'm not sure. I'll have a quick drop down here. I'm pretty certain Yeah, there's nothing really that she can get there. Hasn't got that one. Hasn't got that one. And hasn't got that one. That's fine. This is the point at which she might do irritating stabbing movements. Oh! That's funny. Here's a little hint about Nimue. If anybody ever encounters me, and she gets up real close, like this, and does... That's not bowing. That's her being a bit irritated and stabby. Yeah, it's not worth... That's not worth doing, I don't think. Right, so this is actually a good time for my usual break. So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to take a quick break. In a couple of minutes, I'll be back, and we'll see whether or not any of the die packs have refreshed while I've been gone. So I will see you all shortly. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves while I'm gone. And I actually remembered to unmute my microphone. Ah, right, where were we? I was talking about die packs and recommended recipes, wasn't I? Yeah, one thing I did kind of find out, I think from Wikipedia, so I'm sure that's not the whole story. This is regarding bolognese, as a matter of fact. Is that, thank you, is the bolognese as we think of it with tomatoes in it. I think that is only a couple of 100 years old. Less than 250, I think. But I would almost bet money it's based on a much earlier recipe. And if I were to guess, and I am guessing, I would guess that it was a way to stretch meat out, because when I make bolognese, it's not the official way of doing it. I've tried making it the official way within my limited capabilities, and it was perfectly good, but there was far too much meat for me, and it was actually quite bland. And yet I made it in as close to the approved way as possible. So the first thing that occurs to me, apart from we don't seem to have had a refresh of any... Oh, we do! Look at this. You know, this is a refresh, isn't it? Ah, that's interesting. And there's more over there. So do these things refresh every hour or so? But the thing I found about making bolognese, I won't say more to my tastes, is that if you pack in a whole bunch of the vegetables, onions, carrots, celery, I think that's what you're supposed to use. And yeah, tomatoes. First thing I found, I suppose, is that I can't get decent tomatoes around here for love nor money. Oops, my accent's slipping. I can't get proper tomatoes around here for love nor money. From anywhere, they all seem to be moderately tasteless. So that's one issue. So. And I tried making the, hand crushed, whatever you're supposed to do. Didn't really add anything to the, in quotes, proper way of making it. The other thing I found was that if I used, I don't know, say a quarter of the meat you're supposed to, or even less, after you've... one of the things about bolognese, of course, is you're supposed to cook it for hours. And I found that if you cook it for hours and hours, you actually get it actually comes out surprisingly meaty without the pounds of meat that are recommended. And so I have this conjecture that the original intent of bolognese and the whole long, slow cooking process was to give the meaty flavour without resorting to still expensive meat. You can get a lot of the meatiness with much less meat. And the bulk of it comes from the vegetables you put in. So I got a suspicion that the original idea of bolognese was basically a lot of vegetables and a little bit of meat. Because even now, you know, if I look at my shopping bill, the biggest expense is actually the meat. I keep coming over here because I could have sworn there is a patch over there. Alright. So I'm learning on the fly about doing die runs, or whatever you want to call them. And the idea that oh, there's another patch over there. And the idea that you know, bolognese might have started out as it's called a peasant dish, designed to stretch out what meager meat they had. Well, my experience makes sense, you know, and keeps the costs down. You put cheaper vegetables in with more bulk. And here's the other thing I found is that if you do have a lot of vegetables in there, and you know, before you get to the long-term simmering part, you don't have to add fluid to it. You get all the juices from the vegetables. And that idea of, you know, relatively poor cuts of meat, not much of it, stewed for a long time, is not unique to Italian type foods either. I think the French have some similar traditions as well. Okay, so that was interesting. In order to get, I don't know how many times I have to revisit, but it does look like revisiting dye sources is something you have to do, which means that all this could take a while. Oh, and nutritionally, in case anybody's wondering, you don't actually need pounds of meat a day. You actually only need a few ounces. You get all the necessary nutrients, amino acids, and what have you from a surprisingly small amount of meat. And I would argue you get most of the flavour if you're doing that long, slow cooking kind of thing. So let's revisit our die packs and see what's available now. It would be a bit irritating if the only way to get everything were to revisit. Oh look, I already got this, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay. Okay, gonna have to optimize the die runs. Yeah, because that's gone, that's gone. There's a patch over here, or there should have been a... No, yeah, there's a bit there. Come here, little butterfly. One of the other things that gets me too. As if there isn't enough that gets me. The debate over pizza. Now, I am probably a little weird. I like pizza well enough, occasionally. It's not something I could eat every day. It would irritate me no end if that's what I did every day. I don't understand eating pizza at every opportunity. Is that the modern idea of pizza, even the classic pizza margherita, right? Which is basically, what's pizza margherita? It is a tomato-based sauce of some kind with mozzarella and basil, which is a relatively new invention, of course. It's only 19th century. I think it was 19th century. Well, guess what? Italian pizza tradition seems to have largely built off that. Which is fine, But it should never be regarded as some kind of elitist thing. Because even now, from what I gather, if you go to certain parts and you get the slice of pizza in Italy, it is not... doesn't have cheese on it. There are traditional forms of pizza which do not have cheese. Which sounds, almost unbelievable, but no. Even now, there are types of pizza in Italy which do not have cheese. And in fact, the sort of tradition of putting... a pizza is basically, and I'm sure some Italians, if they listen to this, would be horrified. The idea of pizza is actually kind of ancient, because they found in Pompeii, in the ruins of Pompeii, so you're going back 2,000 years, and it seems they had a form of pizza then. Except it was basically stuff, whatever was available on flatbread. Apparently it was a sort of their equivalent of a fast food, if you could afford it. So, if you consider that pizza is essentially someone sticking stuff on flatbread, the idea goes back over 2,000 years, and probably further than that. Huh. Thank you. Thanks for looking that up. So maybe my rant about cultural elitism isn't quite so bonkers after all. Only reason I'm doing this is I want to catch the manta. Here, manta, manta, manta. Normally I don't try and catch the manta here, but I don't want to... And I'm sorry if this isn't completely coherent, but in fact, one of the things I started doing just for laughs is sort of like a 10-minute bolognese, which I actually saw being illustrated again on YouTube in a French restaurant. And they literally made it in about 10 minutes. And the way it was, they did it I thought was quite fascinating, because instead of that sort of ultra long cooking time, they sped everything up by essentially pulverizing the sofrito, which is carrot, celery, onion. And I find it's not quite as good as if you do that long-term cooking thing, but I don't have a pulverizer type thing. Oh, look at that. Look how much you miss if you don't come back. So what I do is I take my sofrito and I grate it. I use a fine grater, cheap grater. Let's see whether the patch over here is available. And you end up with basically fine pulp and juice. Make sure you stick all that. That way you can very quickly cook your mince, add the sofrito. If you got tomato, damn, I'm slipping. And you can actually end up with a halfway decent bolognese style meat sauce quite quickly that way. It works quite well. And as I said, I got that from I'm not sure if they were the restaurant in question called it bolognese or ragu, but you get the general principle. Alright, let's see what the nest has to offer. All right. Of course, yes, bolognese, it would be Bologna, wouldn't it? So what we're basically saying there is the Italians borrowed bolognese from the French. Got a suspicion this isn't going to give me anything. What look at that. Alright. Tip of the day. If you're doing die pack runs, run it twice. Because you're not going to get it every time, and if you can, run it on the hour, maybe. Yes, but the problem... Yes. Yeah, funny this, I think I was alluding to this earlier. They've actually got a valid point. If you can find the collection point and there's other people around. I can easily see that it would be intrusive. I don't know whether this is exactly pertinent to what I've been talking about, but you know how people go on and on sometimes about Chinese food. I'm not about to have a go at Chinese food. Well, tell you what. Chinese food isn't necessarily what you think it is. My second ex-wife is Chinese, and shortly after we got married, she decided to make what was actually for her a fairly traditional sort of Chinese dish. And it was almost tasteless. Because essentially what you did was, I can't remember what it was sort of cheapest pork bones you could get from your local butcher, which you would then stew for a long time with some form of vegetable, a major component of which was cabbage. And this, I am led to believe, was pretty usual. This was not at all uncommon. This is what people ate. Not at all what you might think. I can't remember all the ingredients, but I mean, it was surprisingly limited. It was none of this. It wasn't spicy because this was Cantonese cooking, and Cantonese cooking is not traditionally spicy. At least not according to the locals, it's not. And what this basically was, is this is what a relatively poor family or regular family might eat because they were hungry. And the whole idea was that, you know, you got your vegetables, you got your meat in there, you got a bone to chew on, and I suppose if you were lucky enough there'd be marrow in the bone. And you would drink the broth. And I was really, really surprised, because this was my first introduction to what might be called poor person's Chinese food. And that's what it was. This was basically people making the best of what they had. It was a bit of a revelation. As I recall, I don't even think we had it with rice. But this is actually what you, a lot of so-called classic dishes. Anybody had chicken feet, for example? I have. This isn't because it's necessarily good and tasty. This is because it's cheap, and one way of stretching out that chicken that you killed the last week. It's become a, in quotes, delicacy, but I can guarantee you it didn't start off that way. Hungry people desperately needed to get enough food, and that's how they got it. And I'll be honest with you, my reaction to chicken feet is make stock out of it. Probably makes a very good stock, actually. But there's nothing in chicken feet. There's, you know, the amount of nutrition in there is practically zero. They do the same thing with duck feet. Now that is a truly interesting experience. But in similar line, and actually this was also Cantonese. I was watching a documentary about a village across the border into mainland China, still part of Canton province, so technically still Cantonese. And these people had a stream running by their village, and what they would do is they'd go to the village, go to the river, and essentially put nets or what have you downstream. I can't get up there, can I? Oh, maybe. And then basically stir up the mud and what have you to, release whatever, shrimp, invertebrates, what have you, that they could find, and they would flow downstream and be picked up. I think there's a way to get up there by cheating a bit. And then they'd all stew it up and eat it. And the silly people doing the documentary were saying, oh, this is wonderful how they're doing this and making the wonderful use of local ingredients or some rubbish like that, completely overlooking the reason that the people were doing it. They were desperate for food, and this was their one way of getting protein. That was it. There was no highfalutin anything about it. This was just hungry people. I mean, I imagine it can't have tasted very good. I saw some of the things that they were eating, and it was like, I have no idea what that is, but it isn't a shrimp. It's some invertebrate, and but that is, in some ways, traditional Chinese cooking. I think they did have rice with it. But okay, is it really worth my going after that little patch of red up there that I can't get to because I'm too short and I don't have enough wings? Yeah. Let's go and triple check the the Sanctuary Islands. I don't know, is that a form of cultural elitism when you see cooks going, or documentary makers or whatever it is, going to, let's face it, poor places, often underdeveloped places, and they're waxing lyrical about the use of insects and what have you, and they're completely overlooking the fact that those people are eating this stuff because that's all they can get. It's not because it's some fantastic delicacy. It's because people are hungry and that's all they've got. It's it's okay, you can call it sort of food tourism, and I hope the locals milk it for as much as they're worth from some rich tourist who's come 5,000 miles to sink themselves into the local culture for 5 minutes, but that aspect of things generally gets overlooked. They're not eating it because it's delicious. They're eating it because they can make it safe, and that's what they've got. And in a way, I actually find that quite sobering. Oh, here's a patch I had before. I don't think there's any dye butterflies over here, but I'll check anyway. I'm not seeing any. I do love the gliding that you can do in Sanctuary Islands. I ought to do ASMR with me just gliding around the Sanctuary Islands one-handed, drinking coffee with the other, and talking about things. I wonder what I should put in the not keynotes. Keynotes? Oh, I can't remember what they're called now. Advertising for this. Listen to Shards of Insanity ramble on about food. Now, here's something interesting. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We, of course, know and appreciate how important protein is. And preferably animal protein. It's easier to digest. And you may be wondering, well, how did peasant societies have often mostly been vegetarian. Meat was expensive and reserved for the rich. Well, it turns out that one source of protein for some vegetarian, traditionally in quotes, vegetarian societies, was actually insects accidentally caught up in their rice, for example. In other words, you do the rice harvest and you get the various insects from that, and that's where they got a fairly significant amount of their protein from. Maybe next time I see this particular Italian chef that I was talking about, next time he's complaining about how people make bolognese, I'll point out that he's ripping off a French dish to start with. No, I won't do that. I'm not going to get into flame wars on the internet. I've done my time of arguing with people on the internet is long over. I got that burned out of my system many years ago. Mostly burned out of my system. I was going to say, I could have sworn there was a patch of dye down here. Right. I have a feeling I've pretty much extracted as much dye as I possibly can. Except I think there is a limit, and I know it does in fact inform you when you've hit that limit, and I haven't. We'll just do one quick look around and then move on to something else. Perhaps I'll go run the dailies. Yeah, not seeing anything. Don't think there's any up here, which is slightly surprising, but we'll check. Excuse me, I'm going to have to scratch my head. Alright, it's, I'll call that it for today in terms of die runs. Let's have a look and see what we managed to collect. Okay, so we started out being given 3 of each. So I've it's 4 red and 2 yellow, a reasonable amount for a daily run? I don't know. And a white. Let's go and have a quick look and see what we can do and whether I want to actually do anything with it. The thing is, I don't really have much to decorate. Oh, this is funny. Okay, trying to get that icon to light up is a little hard when you're so short. How do chibis manage it? Because technically Nimue isn't a chibi. So that gives you some idea. I've been streaming for 102 minutes and I don't think I've gotten all the dye possible, but I've probably got most of it. So all I can really do with this is I could change that's it. That's all I can do. I don't think that's worth doing. Or I can oh, that's interesting. That's supposed to be changing color and it's not really coming up with anything particularly worthwhile. Oh, mainly because that's kind of red anyway. Alright. Oh, one interesting thing I discovered, at least I haven't found a way around it, is if you dye an outfit, you can't then go back and modify that dyed outfit. You have to create another outfit with the dye pattern that you want, which is silliness, frankly. I don't know what persuaded them that that was a great idea. Oh, let's have one look at one other thing that she can in fact dye, which is this. Let's see how this can turn out. It doesn't seem to be worth it. Hang on. Wrong one. Okay. Actually, I mean, being able to change the inside color of a cloak, yes, I've done that with another avatar. That can actually be quite dramatic. But I think for now, she is just going to have to settle for her little yellow cloak. Alright, let's have a quick look and see what the dailies were. Okay, Golden Wasteland. Alright, this should be fun. Catch the light, retrieve a spirit. Okay. Hello, pumpkin. I'm going to have to pick my spot. Come here, come here, come here, come here. I got you. Thank you. I wonder if there's a spirit around here that I can easily get that I have not previously gotten. Oh, actually, I can think of one. Oh, my first seasonal candle of the season. Well, for this avatar at any rate. Not going to play Tickle the Dragon today. I always feel sorry for that poor Manta. Oh, here's a thought. We'll go after that spirit, I think. But I'm going to do it the slightly cheaty way. I'm going to go into the crab fields and come back. And that way we will despawn the... Oh, I might as well visit the bonfire first. Okay. Oh, don't have enough. No, I'm not going to go after the playful parent. Definitely not going after the playful parent. That is not a thing. Sorry, not going to happen. But I do need a bit of a recharge on the wing there. Okay, so what we're going to do is hop into the crab fields, come back, pick up that spirit through there. And now we head back. Because, and I'm sure anybody watching this after the event, or anybody currently watching it, the dark dragon in this area doesn't spawn until a particular trigger point, and that trigger point is actually over there. So if I come through this way, there should not be a dark dragon, which means going after this spirit. And as I recall, I don't particularly like this spirit, but we'll do it anyway. Where is he? Ah, there. Yeah, this is one of those drag the spirit type things along, and I don't like them very much, but we'll do this one anyway. Where am I headed? I swear Nimue scurries faster than my, in quotes, normal height avatars. Or simply, maybe it's simply I had more practice. Oh, it's not even an emote I particularly want. Alright. That's the easiest way over there. Probably going to be to drop into the water and hope I don't Wow, did they change the camera on this, or am I simply not used to playing short characters? Come here. I swear she does move faster. Right. I have, at this point, I'm afraid I don't know. I'm going to try not to burn out like I did last time. So I don't know if I'll be streaming tomorrow necessarily at my usual time. But I probably will. Although I ought to go swimming. If the weather's halfway decent, I might go swimming instead. I need to start getting more exercise. But the weather around here has been fairly... yeah. And my only way of getting to the local swimming pool is on a 1.5 mile walk, and I don't fancy doing it. Oh no, I've got to go into town tomorrow, so yes, I should do at any rate. So at this point I cannot promise a stream tomorrow, which would mean that in principle my next live stream would be Tuesday, and I will probably do the Long Dark. Come here, come on. Why are you all hung up down there? Oh, I see. It got hung up behind a piece of stone. Thank you. So, yes, in principle at least, my next live stream will be Tuesday. And I will almost certainly stream The Long Dark. During which I will probably ramble on about some other subject completely unrelated to the game. Oh, wait a minute. Did I not hint that maybe I... no, that's okay. I can do that anytime. Alright. Alright, I just put the subject of what I might stream on Tuesday up in the air because I suddenly realised one thing I did early on was sort of how many wings can you... Sorry, not how many wings. How many... how much light can you get in an hour type of thing. Which changed my perspective on doing candle runs. But with the new dye dynamic, that's going to possibly change how we do our wing runs. I mean, it took me... I'm going to have to experiment, and I'll stream the experiments to see how long it actually takes me. Is that everything? Yep. And that's actually pretty good timing. Actually, if you don't have the candles to spend, and of course we got another spirit coming up on the 30th, it might be, and I'll experiment on live stream, might be easier to do die pack and any wings you can get along the way, and the dailies, and then don't spend the dailies on anything if you can avoid it, because that way you can obviously accumulate candles for the end of season. Oh, right. I'm just going to light up the few people that are here. And then I think I'm done. Yep, that's everybody. All right. Thank you for joining me again. I'm trying to think. I keep meaning, every time I check to see if there's a way of actually setting up a schedule, a published schedule. The only way I can think of doing a published schedule is to stick it in the community post, which people may or may not read. Otherwise, obviously, if you're a subscriber, you'll get notifications, presumably, when I do start a live stream. So I'm going to bring this to an end. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. And I will see you all. Where's my Alt key? I will see you all next time. Have a very good rest of the weekend and a corresponding